Hello and welcome to the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago's Honors and Awards Ceremony. I'm Wendell Constantine. The Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago, or as it's fondly known, APETT, had its beginnings in 1959, where its first official meeting was held and a constitution formally adopted. APETT is a learned society of professional engineers dedicated to the development of engineers and the engineering profession and aims to safeguard the life, health, and welfare of the public by restricting the practice of engineering to only properly qualified persons, while advancing the profession by the observance of and adherence to high ethical standards. The association also has the objective of promoting the proficiency, knowledge, and skill of professional engineers and to increase their usefulness to the public, and additionally aims to protect and advance the engineers' interests. At this time, it'll be remiss of me not to mention or recognize one of the key stakeholders at this our 2022 ceremony, the National Institute of Higher Education and Research, Science and Technology, NIHERST. NIHERST, whose vision focuses on the application of scientific, technological, and innovative solutions to propel sustainable socio-economic and environmental transformation, is indeed well aligned to APETT's mandate. On this occasion, we're here for the flagship event, the Engineering Awards. Each year, we celebrate the works and achievements of the professional engineers in Trinidad and Tobago who work diligently and silently to convert ideas into reality for the benefit of society. Tonight, it's no different. And so, before we get into the awards, to deliver opening remarks is the 2020 to 2021 President of APETT, Jainarayan Bansi. Jainarayan Bansi has over 20 years of diversified industrial experience in the process and manufacturing environment, and he has served for over 15 years as a faculty member. Additionally, he has also delivered over 1,250 hours of professional education training for various local and multinational organizations. He's also lectured for 10 years part-time at a senior secondary school. Mr. Bansi holds qualifications in mechanical engineering, production engineering and management, manufacturing engineering, and business administration. He also holds professional membership in the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Association of Business Executives. Jainarayan's voluntary services have been extended to various committees and associations. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jainarayan Bansi.
Greetings, fellow engineers, and wholehearted welcome to all to our 60th Honors and Awards Ceremony. The title of my speech is Service. To the best of my knowledge, you are viewing the very first Honors and Awards Ceremony movie of APETT in over 60 years. Some of you would have participated in its production. Kindly give yourself a pat. Coincidentally, I also had the distinguished pleasure to be elevated as APETT President at our first virtual AGM in 2020. We certainly have come a long way, and I do hope the trend will continue since there's much more we should and can do. I had stated previously, and I quote, going forward, an increased amount of APETT activities would incorporate the technological advancement afforded to us. We have to step up and move fast forward, or we will be left behind. A few years ago, when I was invited to the Mechanical Division AGM and had the privilege to join the executive, I had not for a moment envisioned to still be here after 8 years. As the saying goes, and as I quote, service to man is service to God, and the hands that serves are holier than the lips that pray. During this time, I had the pleasure of working together with members on 6 executive councils. And I also had the opportunity to work alongside many members on membership business, among others. I must say, we surely had some lively deliberation on membership business, among others. Theirs and their membership voluntary service and contribution to APETT, TNT, and the region have not gone unnoticed. we at APETT have recognized their contribution and also the country in terms of national awards. As I conclude and the movie proceed, join me in congratulating the many distinguished engineers who are about to receive their awards and those who will be elevated to fellow. In closing, I would like to thank all those who have made this HNRE ceremony movie a success, and see you at our next face-to-face event.
And we begin with the APETT Outstanding Young Engineer Award. In this category, awardees are all engineers under the age of 30 who would have displayed excellence on a particular practice or research project that they were involved in. This project would have had to be one of significance or importance and includes, but isn't limited to, planning, project management, design, development research, maintenance, and operations. Our young engineers are the future of the profession. And now I present to you our APETT Outstanding Young Engineer Award winners.
I was always interested in the basic science of things. And in 2012, I attended the Global Young Leaders Conference in the United States. And two engineers over the 3-week period, two engineers that I spoke to stood out to me because it was apparent to me from talking to them that they had the same appetite that I had for just wanting to understand how things work and why does this happen, And then from the early days of technical drawing in high school, I had a liking for sketches and 3D perspectives, and at the time I had no idea that was such a huge part of engineering, but I did take to it very well. In terms of traditional mentorship, naturally that person was our managing director at Alpha, Engineer Fazir Khan. 30 years he has imprinted his knowledge in engineering, management, even self-development from his 30+ years of industry experience. And he believes in the power of feedback. But Professor Gyan Srivastava played a key role in my development as an engineer, more so where my passion was concerned. Through his teachings over the years, he has helped me to feed and develop my passion for hydrology and hydraulics. It's from his very first class in 2014, at the end of which he gave me a book, which he signed on the 12th of November of that year. And at the time, I was just elated, got a book from a professor. But later on, I did realize why this book. And I believe it's because of the examples of calculations that are directly for real-world problems, which is what engineering is all about. Challenges, I would say I had quite a few. In particular, though, the transition from school to work, academics to industry, was hard. And in the first 1 or 2 years during that transition, you would find yourself falling out of the application mindset. You had to remind yourself to stay in the application mindset. In hindsight, though, it does come with some practice. And I will say this, engineering in room 10 is very different from engineering at work. The problems you face at work do not have well-defined, universally correct answers. Some of the highlights of my career are, so far, I would say it's achieving the incorporation of GIS and Python and VBA programming into developing hydraulic models that have increased robustness that would otherwise be very time and energy intensive and have significantly lower levels of accuracy. But I'll say this too, traveling to other countries with Professor Gyan Srivastava and Engineer Fazir Khan and working alongside them on real-world projects, that was definitely a hallmark experience for me, because I was able to experience the implementation of designs that I was deeply involved in and see how that rolled out, and the lessons learned there in very dynamic environments like rivers where it's constantly changing. The lessons learned there are not things you would know as a designer at the design stage. So, very unique experience. 2018 was the St. Vincent Buckerman River Defense. That was followed by an even more marvelous project, the hydrologic and hydraulic analysis of the Dennery and Soufrière watersheds in St. Lucia. I know Soufrière is very popular, and we just concluded our flood risk assessment in Guyana. Very large watersheds with very dynamic hydrology and hydraulics. And we also have the Land Slip Repair program, which has exposed me to very, very different areas of engineering, and being able to see how all the different disciplines come together to form this one product, this one solution, which is the solution to a real world problem, which is landslips and rivers and erosion and scour. So in Land Slip Repair program, I was exposed to so many disciplines that all come together under one umbrella, one project, and it's very amazing to be a part of that. My vision for engineering, the engineering industry in Trinidad and Tobago, is that with institutional will and sustained effort, we will optimize globally evolving technologies to improve our capabilities and innovate cost-effective, resilient solutions to our local unique problems, but also to improve our data paucity situation so that we as engineers can execute engineering analyses with higher confidence levels and lower levels of epistemic uncertainty. My advice to young engineers would be this: stop a crack by rounding it off. Science as we know it tells us that crack propagation can be hindered by distributing stresses in various directions. So I mean that both literally and figuratively. But also seek feedback wherever you can, because effective, timely feedback is very critical for success. But one more thing, most importantly, have fun. Enjoy, I must stress that you must enjoy the stress. Enjoy the science and technology that is in everything that we do as engineers.
When I was about 9 or 10, there was a WASA project in front of my house where they were replacing a sewer line. So I saw construction equipment and processes up close. So that was always fascinating to me. So from that age, I always liked construction. So civil engineering was a natural path for me to be in construction. I was able to graduate. So in becoming an engineer, the most difficult period of this time has been studying for my degree. I graduated from UWI in civil with environmental engineering, and doing that degree was especially challenging. Completed it in 3 years, and there were times I felt like I failed courses. Like there were times I felt that I had to spend an extra year in UWI making up classes or so. But thankfully, with a lot of support and guidance from lecturers and friends, and so was able to graduate with first-class honors and top of my program. So the highlight of my career so far has been working on the CRH interchanges project, specifically the McCoy interchange. I remember being very young and staying at the CRH UBH lights at that time for about 7 minutes. And since that time, I always thought, we could get rid of these lights and put in interchanges. So from 8 or 9, I developed a little sketch of that interchange. So now being part of the new interchange that is going to be at McCoy has been really exciting, and I think it's really wonderful. So my vision for engineering, in Trinidad especially, is for it to be more innovative, resilient, and sustainable. So for the past how many ever decades, we've been more or less doing the same practices over and over, using the same materials, these sort of proven and tested methodologies, and so. But it's time we become a little more innovative, open to new ideas, and implement new practices and even new construction materials as well. In terms of being sustainable, construction produces a lot of greenhouse gases. It's one of the most polluting industries in Trinidad. So definitely want to try to reduce our carbon footprint by using more sustainable materials or quicker methods and these sort of new environmentally friendly practices. It's always a learning experience. From your first job, there will always be people who can help you. You always try to learn from them. You go to technical seminars, conferences, always try to learn as much as possible. That is the definite rule. You always keep learning. You never get comfortable in your field. You always try to achieve or always try to strive for better in your practice. My support system has definitely been my family, my mom, sister, and my dad. They have given me a great background to pursue my education. My wife, or my fiance at the time, well, my girlfriend at the time during UE, listened to me present on a lot of different engineering topics, and I'm sure she was pretty bored listening to me. But she stuck with me, and she's been my rock since then. Professionally, I worked at the Ministry of Works and Transport as an intern during the UE times, and at my first job, CEP, I met a lot of senior officials who guided me and put me on the right path. At my current job, Beston Consulting, we have a great team of technical people, engineers, even administrative staff who help nurture each other and allow each other to grow. So out of all these people, you get so many different so many experiences, so many lessons you get to learn from all these car technicians, the engineers, and the site technicians. So they always try to help you, and always try to come together to produce the best designs or the best outcome for construction work. So want to specifically mention Mr. Mark Francois, who has been really been the guiding force at Beston and for me pursuing engineering for so long. I've done a lot of design work. So it's been so far the Church Roosevelt Highway extension to Manzanilla, Valencia Toco roadway, CRH interchanges, and a lot of land developments in Trinidad and around the Caribbean. It's been great so far, taking something from the client, a concept from the client, and developing the actual designs to go out for construction. We've had a lot of design work that has been constructed, like some of the bridges, and so it's always good to see your design work from the computer screen translates into actual physical forms. So that has been a great feeling. Of course, I would love all my projects to translate from paper to reality. Of course, that's not always possible with some of the major works we have so far, but I think in 10 years, about nearly 10 years since I've graduated, I've done a significant amount of work that has impacted Trinidad and Tobago.
Congratulations to each of the APETT Outstanding Young Engineer Award winners. The future of engineering is in good hands. Now we move to the APETT Award for Engineering Research and Innovation. The winner of this award undertook peer-reviewed research at the postgraduate level that is of relevance to Trinidad and Tobago or the wider Caribbean region. Or they would have developed innovative technology, product, process changes, or projects applicable to industry or society at the community or national level. Their work would also need to demonstrate real practical value or make a significant contribution to engineering in a particular plant or process or to society. Ladies and gentlemen, the APETT Award for Engineering Research and Innovation.
As a child, I was always interested in how things work and how things behave. After completing my first degree in analytical chemistry, I became very interested in the area of material science, and being a key area under the engineering discipline, I've found myself existing in this area over the last few years. I think the biggest challenge that I face, and most persons in my field in academia face, is really keeping abreast with changes and developments in science and engineering. One has to continuously read and learn, exist as a professional student, and this takes a lot of time and effort. If this is not done, you can easily find yourself being irrelevant. Apart from that, delivering courses in a university environment is very demanding. It takes a lot of effort to properly deliver courses, and when you couple this with a very active research agenda, it's very time consuming. Achieving a balance between life and work is a great challenge and has to be properly managed. During my career, there have been several highlights, several accomplishments, but to summarize, I think the major accomplishment is really seeing some of the projects, some of the research areas that I've been involved in really develop into major projects, and some of them are at the implementation stage, especially ones that relate to material waste reuse and projects in the greenhouse gas emission sector. When one thinks about the future of engineering, I look at it as being engineering is the future. Because as engineers, we really need to solve some major issues that are facing us, including issues relating to climate change, energy efficiency, technology development, serious issues such as food production, water production, and distribution of these resources to people. Young engineers and scientists, first of all, need to really continuously educate themselves, keep abreast with developments because things are continuously changing. They also need to be open-minded individuals, collaborate with peers, and work towards formulating solutions to really help our society overcome the challenges that we face. And most of all, scientists and engineers must be humble persons. Well, throughout my career, there have been numerous persons that have positively impacted my development. But there are two in particular, I can name them. Dr. Liebert Grayson, who's based at the University of the West Indies, Chemistry Department, and Professor Adel Altawil, who is currently based in Dalhousie University in Canada. They were major contributors and mentors to me. But apart from them, my research partners, people who I research and publish with, they are tremendous supporters of my work, as well as my colleagues and my students. I'm partly satisfied because I think that I have the opportunity to impart my knowledge and experience to my students. I've also had the opportunity to research and be involved in formulating solutions to a lot of the problems that we have. But I'm not totally satisfied because I honestly think that there's a lot more work to be done. And in that regard, I would continue on the course that I am on and hope to further contribute towards society.
Congratulations to all of our awardees in the program thus far. Now on to a moment of entertainment. Brandon Christopher is a young saxophonist, here to perform Ja Melody's I Love You. Thank you, Brandon Christopher. Dr. Chris Mirage is Senior Lecturer in the Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering Department of the University of the West Indies. He holds BSc and MSc qualifications in Mechanical Engineering and Engineering Management respectively from the UWI. He started his career as a mechanical engineer in condition monitoring and inspection, working in the industry. And he later went on to pursue his PhD at the Imperial College in London in mechanical engineering. His present teaching and research interests are in the alternative use of waste materials, mechanical design optimization, failure analysis, component life assessment, asset management, innovation management, and enhancing student motivation. To deliver remarks, the President of APETT, Dr. Chris Mirage.
I thank you sincerely for taking the time to witness your fellow colleagues being awarded and honored. To be recognized by one's peers is of grand significance. I hope that we are all cognizant that the accolades and merit we receive today are due to the contributions of our communities and larger society to our well-being and growth. Our parents and family, teachers, mentors, religious and community organizations have served to mold and shape us into the persons today who have received this accolade or honor. In turn, I hope that we are doing our part to instill the positive values we have gained and to serve the ones to come optimally. I wish the awardees, fellows, and everyone here all the best as we all try to create a more positive future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mirage. The next category is the Fenric Dufour Award for Outstanding Engineering Achievement. This award is conferred to APETT members who have completed work in engineering practice or research that has demonstrated innovation, extensive scope and range, unusual complexity, significant positive benefit to a wide cross-section of the population, technical leadership, or successful entrepreneurial endeavor in engineering. And now the awardees of the Fenric Dufour Award for Outstanding Engineering Achievement.
In primary school, I had a report to do on the oil and gas industry. And my parents helped me to collate all of the information about the industry, and we had to drive around to look at the industrial plants and have been fascinated by this ever since. So I chose then, early on, to be a petroleum engineer. At the time when I started UWI, that degree was not offered. So I did the next best thing, which was chemical engineering, although I had no great fund for chemistry. So I did chemical engineering with the intention that I would do a master's degree in petroleum afterwards. I then had the opportunity to do research on the optimal long-term structure for the petrochemical industry in Trinidad and Tobago. So I did that. Then I had another opportunity to do more research, this time in dynamic optimization of distillation columns. So in the end, I spent really too long doing research in chemical engineering. As it turned out, I spent actually all of my career in the oil and gas industry in the end. And so the lesson I have maybe for young people is to do the best of what is in front of you, and everything else will fall in place. So I joined the industry really at a low point in the local and in the international energy sector. This was in 1999. And the challenge really was to re-strategize, to grow the industry. And I was in project development at the time. And the company I worked for had the mandate to maximize the use of natural gas. And I'm glad to say that in the space of about 7 years, the country managed to develop 6 more ammonia plants, 3 more LNG plants, 3 more methanol plants, steel projects, and a bunch of different infrastructure to support all of this. So my advice to young engineers is to take the opportunities in front of you, whatever they may be. I never turned down a single project or assignment. Do not worry about pay increase or promotion. Take the opportunity to learn and to contribute. Things may be new to you, so do your research, learn from the best, and have a collaborative attitude. It will pay back one way or another at some point in time. Knowledge is never wasted, right? Knowledge is never wasted. Become a certified and become a registered professional engineer. My main support really has been my family, who have put up with my lateness, my absenteeism, and who I've carried wherever I've gone to. And it helps when your better half is also an engineer, right? My mentors, I'll talk about academia and industry. So in academia, I think Professor David Mago, he was one of the best lecturers at UWI, and he was later my boss when I spent some time at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, where he was setting up a research program on natural gas. Dr. Aman Yonghun and Dr. Sidney Thomas, who introduced me to the field of optimization and helped me to see the world is full of opportunities of things and situations to be optimized. Professor Costas Pantelidis, Professor Eva Sorensen at Imperial College and University College London, who helped to mold my scientific and mathematical way of thinking. In terms of industry, I've had the good fortune to work with some of the greats in the energy sector. Frank Lokin, who caused me to turn down a postdoctoral opportunity at UCL to return to Trinidad and work for NGC and to work on the gas industry in TNT. I don't regret that for one moment. Several people, my colleagues, people like Charles Baisden, Arnold Lifu, Gregory Maguire, and my first boss in industry, who was engineer Omar Goreb, who coached me about a unique management style, which is really a down-to-earth kind of management style, which I still try to practice today. I also worked under the stewardship of Professor Ken Julian, TC, the late Kita Wong, who pointed out to me in my early days I needed to make a choice about working for country. And I've since spent my entire career working for the state sector. So in closing, I think we have had a long and successful legacy of engineering in Trinidad and Tobago. Let us not allow the world to leave us behind. We cannot remain stagnant. And I believe APETT, Association of Professional Engineers, and the Board of Engineering of TNT are key institutions to work with other local and international bodies and other professions to help secure the future of TNT. So thank you to APETT for this opportunity.
Well, from very early in my childhood days, I was always curious as to how appliances and things work at home. And that followed into my secondary school time period, where I was very good. In fact, I excelled in maths and physics and sciences. And those subjects naturally lead into engineering. So it was a natural progression for me to move into engineering. As a young engineer in PowerGen, in those days it started as TNTech in 1983. I had a very helpful and supportive plant manager in Penal, Mr. James Stewart, the late Mr. James Stewart. And he was very influential in my career development. I had a lot of opportunities and projects, which I encouraged to pursue. I did well, and he really set the guidelines for me and guided me along the way. And since then, I've been doing quite well with those words of advice. The major challenge in getting to where I am and where I retired as the general manager at PowerGen was in the cumulative years of my career as the GM. We closed the Port of Spain power station in 2016, and that required the redeployment of about 100 plus employees. The intention was never to retrench these employees. So working with the OWTU, it was very cooperative, and we ended up doing quite well. In fact, we were very successful in retaining all the employees. So it took a little effort, but it was a challenge. At that time, I had just gotten the GM position, so it was like hitting the road running. At the plant manager at Penal, I would say the highlight of my career was the development and execution of the upgrade of the units at Penal. The units at Penal are part of the combined cycle plant, and the upgrade of those units to allow those units to go on for another 25 to 30 years. Being the most efficient plant in the facility, then it was critical that we keep those units going well. So that to me was the most the biggest highlight of my career. So I would like to see the engineering fraternity, in particular the local engineers, Trinidad and Tobago, to be more involved in projects, local projects. Far too often I see a lot of projects being developed and managed by external supports. Right? I think we have the resources, we have the talent, and I think I would love to see local engineers take control of those projects and bring them to fruition. I would say to young engineers, in particular the young engineers who just graduated, that the first 5 to 10 years of your career, you must invest in it, right? There is no easy road up the ladder, the corporate ladder. You must invest your time and energy in learning the organization that you belong to. You must also look at continuous development, because a degree is just the beginning of your career, professional career. You must do continuous programs to enhance yourself and make you be more efficient, more professional, and more capable in terms of performance. Also, I would advise them that communication is critical, right? In days of work now, team play is crucial, and that you cannot function or become very effective if you don't communicate well, right? And communication starts with listening.
I loved mathematics and physics, math, physics, and chemistry as a student in high school. And I found that engineering allowed me to use those 3 subjects when I was moving into the profession. But getting into engineering, the biggest challenge, of course, is getting the grades that were high enough to get into the faculty. And that's a matter of listening to my teachers and applying myself to the subjects. Once I got into the faculty, it was a really experience, because we moved from a high school environment into the university environment. So the first year, that transition year was quite challenging, but I managed to survive it. And then my understanding and my maturity grew as I went through the program. As I come to the end of my career, I recently was the project leader and transport engineer for a project that we did at the university, looking at the development of a travel demand model, and that was given a high commendation, and that is an achievement as well, of which we are very proud. Obviously, the project that I was awarded for was one of the highlights, because it made a significant difference in the lives of people, and it continues to make a significant difference in the lives of thousands of commuters. The project is actually the conversion of the roads around the Queen's Park Savannah into a one-way system. Now, that was done back in 1980-81 when I had just completed my master's degree, and there was a significant amount of traffic congestion. I remember getting a letter from just a normal member of the public who suggested this as an idea. Of course, everybody can come up with any idea, but we had to do the analysis. So I went into the analysis. We did the surveys, I did the designs, looking at the volumes, the capacity, the turning movements, and then we felt that yes, it could be done, convinced the authorities that it could be done, got the cooperation of the police as well, and we had to actually reconstruct the system, put the road markings and signs up in 2 days. I'd be able to do it, and so the traffic was two-way on Friday, and by Monday, it was one-way around the Queen's Park Savannah. I've had mentors, I have had a couple of mentors. Actually, just recently I was with one of them. And when I was doing my PhD, my advisor, my professor, was a great mentor and continues to be a great mentor to me in terms of how I should approach problem solving. And then when I went into the private sector as an engineer and as a manager, I had a mentor who was an engineer as well. And he was the chairman of my board, and he was a great mentor in terms of how, as an engineer in management, I could ensure that we do the proper things and get things done the way they're supposed to work. But engineers are being called upon to do more than just their calculations and their designs. They're really called upon to make sure that their designs are fit for purpose and that the community and the public, their life is enhanced by the engineering work that we do. So that is, to me, that's where the future of engineering is going. As engineers become more tuned to what some might consider to be the soft side or the social side or the people side of what we do. Because what we do is for the benefit of society. I was a lecturer before I retired, and I told my students, and I would tell my young engineers, that they should never forget the principles of good engineering. And the Engineering Professions Act talks about the ethics of engineering. And as engineers, we are going to be faced at some point in time in our career with difficult ethical decisions. We have to make sure that you're on the right side of the ethics and don't compromise your standards. Don't compromise. Even if your decision maker doesn't want to make the right decision and doesn't want to take your advice, you give them the best advice you can give them. And if that's their decision not to take it, that is their position. But you, as a young engineer, you make your decisions based on your best knowledge and analysis, and you go with that. Of course, you must be prepared to learn. Always keep yourself open to learning from others who have gone before, but make sure that your ethics and your integrity remain intact.
Congratulations to the winners of the Fenric Dufour Award for Outstanding Engineering Achievement. Our next performer is Devashish Ramdath. He's here to delight you with Kashi Nagari.
काशी नगरी के बाबा भैरो, कोटवाल के बाबा भैरो, काशी नगरी के बाबा भैरो, कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो। विश्वनाथ की महिमा जहाँ पर दर्शन जात को होत निहाले। ये विश्वनाथ की महिमा जहाँ पर दर्शन जात को होत निहाले। काशी नगरी ये बाबा भैरो, कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो, काशी नगरी के बाबा भैरो, कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो। कोटि जहाँ देवता विराजे, काशी के बासी पर रहत दयाल। 33 कोटि जहाँ देवता विराजे, काशी के बासी पर रहत दयाल। काशी नगरी, काशी नगरी, ये काशी नगरी, ये बाबा भैरो, काशी नगरी ये बाबा भैरो, कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो। रामेश्वर हर पापी जन दंड करत और डेत निकाले रामेश्वर हर पापी जन को दंड करत और देत निकाले काशी नगरी काशी नगरी काशी नगरी बाबा भैरो काशी नगरी बाबा भैरो कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो काशी नगरी बाबा भैरो कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो काशी नगरी के बाबा भैरो कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो काशी नगरी के बाबा भैरो कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो काशी नगरी के बाबा भैरो कोतवाल के बाबा भैरो ये बाबा भैरो बाबा ये बाबा भैरो बाबा ये बाबा भैरो बाबा ये बाबा भैरो बाबा ये बाबा भैरो बाबा
Our thanks to Devashish Ramdath for his performance. Our featured speaker this year is Mrs. Marlene Lord Lewis, a proven leader with extensive experience in strategy formulation, negotiations, process engineering, and business development. Mrs. Lord Lewis was appointed in 2019 by the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Her Excellency Paul Weeks, to the position of President at NIHERST and ex officio member of the NIHERST Board of Governors. Moving from energy to education, Mrs. Lord Lewis now leads the implementation of NIHERST's strategic plan and shapes the national policy that fosters, cultivates, and recognizes innovation, creativity, and culture for excellence in science, technology, and innovation. Mrs. Lord Lewis has held executive leadership roles and successfully steered major project development and implementation across the oil and gas sector. She holds a BSc in Chemical Engineering and MSc in Production Engineering and Management, both from the University of the West Indies, and a Masters of Business Administration from Andrews University in Michigan, USA. Welcome our featured speaker, Mrs. Marlene Lord Lewis.
President APETT, Dr. Chris Mirage, President-elect APETT, Dr. Trevor Townsend, distinguished fellows and awardees, specially invited guests, members of APETT, management and staff of NIHERST, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is indeed a pleasure to be here to address you on this remarkable occasion of the APETT Honors and Awards. I am deeply honored to have been invited to perform this important role and wish to thank the executives of APETT. We are here this evening to celebrate and toast a cadre of individuals who have contributed their engineering talent towards building this nation of Trinidad and Tobago. Today, the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago, APETT, celebrates the careers of 10 outstanding engineers and 21 engineers who have been elevated to the esteemed level of Fellow of the Association, icons with significant achievements that have impacted national, regional, and indeed international arenas. Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, once said that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Taking that one step has brought us to this place, this time, this season. This one step along our journey to the now represents a defining moment in each of our lives. It is that moment in time when, as the prophet Isaiah says, we set our faces like flint, when we clothe our minds and hearts with an unwavering determination to persevere despite the difficulties that may arise. You, APETT's fellows and awardees determined that you were going to work through the difficulties and have accomplished what you set out to do. We applaud you. We applaud your navigation through countless trials, tribulations, and challenges, some being scarcity of funds for educational pursuits or the pursuit of those new and frontier engineering projects. Other challenges along the journey may have included discriminatory practices among employers, including gender and cultural biases. But notwithstanding the challenges, we must also recognize those angels who we met along the pathways, who extended their hands to help, to guide, to motivate, to inspire, to encourage, and even to chastise as necessary. On my own journey, I recall the trust placed in me as a student of engineering by an HR officer from the then Texaco refinery, who on his vacation employment recruitment drive at JFK Hall at UWI asked me how I intended to reach the Point-A-Pierre refinery for 7 a.m. from my hometown in Sangre Grande. And I simply said, I'll be there, not having a clue, of course, but only believing. I was hired. My angel indeed. I am proud to state here that my 39 years of service to the energy sector included 29 years at Texaco Trinidad Petrotrin Petroleum Companies and 10 years at the National Energy Corporation based on natural gas business development. The engineering profession brings with it a responsibility to transformation. Transformation not only of infrastructure, but of society's experience with the discipline of the profession. We as engineers are without doubt mentors to a society that is hungry for positive change in their daily lives and that of the future leaders of society. Our association through APETT brings an opportunity for a unified front as we embark on creating a future and building on the work of our fellows and awardees who are being celebrated this evening. We of this engineering fraternity are armed with our qualifications and certifications and a sense of purpose in our hearts, where our efforts have allowed us to belong to this prestigious technical organization, the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago, APETT. However, it is much more than certification and camaraderie. In this 21st century, what truly makes us APETT with a difference? What transformation should we engage in as a professional body that builds sustainability and relevance in the future? Allow me to give my own version of this acronym APETT and dive into some qualities that I believe are resident in all of us. We start with the A in APETT and substitute the word application, which must be front and center. As engineers, we design with people in mind as we apply our ingenuity and knowledge to the communities we serve. It is within this context that we bring notions and theories to fruition in the very same communities that help drive our culture and our future. There's a sense of pride in understanding the rigor, abilities, and mindset that are required to not just obtain the title of engineer, but to flourish in this career. We all know the navigational procedure to reach this point was no simple effort, but here we are amidst fellow greats. As experts in the area, we recognize that with tremendous power comes great responsibility. As a result, it is our responsibility to pursue greatness and new insights that will propel our nation to greater heights. As the president of NIHERST, I am cognizant of this obligation, especially as it is within my purview to unlock the latent potential of many of the nation's youth through tangible and experiential offerings. Let this theme, application, serve as a challenge to everyone present today. Take up the torch and act as a beacon of hope and mentor to the impressionable minds of the next generation. Give them the spark they need to excel. Create the necessary and anticipated opportunities in your own capacity to ensure that this partnership with people is never without purpose. Be the victor even in your own arena in order to elevate others. Guarantee that they recognize the value in the field and serve as the agent of change we seek in our homes, cities, and nations. Following on with the letter P in APETT, we say today that to be professional is to be pillars for people. To add to our duty of care, let it also be our responsibility to reduce the inequitable hurdles to admittance into this wonderful profession. Accessibility must become the standard, not the exception, as significant societal reform can only occur with participation from a broad cross-section of society. It is this tenet of inclusivity that has driven the collaboration between APETT and NIHERST, with its span of influence that moves from primary to the tertiary student population. NIHERST and APETT have signed a memorandum of cooperation to build on initiatives that can extend the reach of engineering as a plausible career options. Workings of the agreement will promote vigorous talks aimed at alleviating pain points in underprivileged areas. Through the NIHERST APETT mentorship program, this bridge between the leaders of today and the pioneers of tomorrow will continue to be well supported. More so, this bridge will be open to all regardless of one's demographic. Today, we say that the engineering in APETT must spurn equality of opportunity, and APETT is the body to drive this. As one of the few chemical engineers, female, in this area, it must be remiss of me if I did not acknowledge a need for equality in the field. Despite the significance of engineering to our lives and future, women have historically been underrepresented in engineering areas, comprising just 10 to 20% of the engineering workforce. Even in nations where the number of women studying science, technology, and innovation subjects has increased, this trend has not translated into more women entering the workforce, according to UNESCO. Too many graduating female students do not enter the engineering field. Frequently, the obstacles stem from continuing gender stereotypes in this profession, poor policies, or educational environments that do not suit their needs and objectives. Consequently, we must now prepare to overhaul our institutions so that we can promptly eliminate any barriers limiting our diverse individuals. Gender-related barriers, socio-economic barriers, and all other hurdles that impede social progress must be eliminated. Recognizing that science, technology, and innovation drivers and the role of the engineer are key to achieving sustainable development goals, I am pleased that strategic partnerships such as the NIHERST APETT collaboration are positioned to address these issues and make indelible contributions to the achievement of sustainable development goals. Specifically, Goal 8, decent work and economic growth, Goal 10, reduced inequalities, and Goal 11, gender equality, sustainable cities and communities. And finally, we come to the 2 T's in the acronym APETT, which makes it imperative that our professional body be fully engaged in the national digital transformation agenda and be poised to drive and develop new talent in technology. As we enter 2023, it is ever so clear that artificial intelligence is now ubiquitous. From self-driving cars to drones and virtual assistants to digital fabrication technologies, the biological and technical worlds are merging rapidly every day. Combining the expertise in computational design, additive manufacturing, materials engineering, and synthetic biology, Engineers are creating the future. Indeed, this is something of which we should be proud. Engineering has always played a crucial role in development and human welfare. It is crucial that future generations of engineers are able to propose solutions for local and global problems. As such, it is again our responsibility to increase awareness of the importance of engineering in mitigating the effects of climate change and advancing sustainable development. We, as members of this renowned fraternity, must place a high focus on initiatives that raise awareness of engineering as a field of study, as well as those that emphasize the significance of young people studying science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM. As I stand here today, I realize that I have come full circle. As the president of NIHERST, I am an advocate and change agent for the rapid adoption of STEM. I am assured that the Institute's labor and that of its many specialists within our midst will undoubtedly guarantee the future generation is appropriately fortified. On such a note, I implore us to be proactive and not merely sit back and watch things happen. Let us be the change that we wish to see. Let us employ scientific knowledge and critical reasoning to solve technical challenges and be the vanguard powering the innovation process. It is clear that our skill set is relevant in the current technological world, which has embraced next generation technology and is rapidly evolving. Given the vast variety of engineering specializations, mechanical, civil, chemical, and many others, graduates can find meaningful careers in nearly every economic sector. Our engineers have excelled in infrastructure and process plant design, human resource management, and even in approving and administering the annual fiscal package for the national budget. Technology is advancing at a faster rate than ever before. The world as we know it is undergoing transition, and I am pleased to say that engineers are driving this transformation. Because of our engineering fraternity, all of these concepts have become a reality, from the microprocessors in our home appliances to the high-speed internet we use on the go, not to mention the eSIMs that will soon be in all of our mobile phones. Engineering and technology have revolutionized the world in which we live, resulting in significantly longer life expectancy and improved quality of life for a considerable portion of the global population. As we look to the future, it is essential that we maximize engineering's power to positively affect our society. Consequently, this sector requires increased focus, and its contributions to progress must be acknowledged. We must raise the visibility and comprehension of the engineer's role in order to attract more people to the profession. We must endeavor to be advocates for young men and women who are intrinsically motivated to bring about positive change in the world. Let us serve as their guiding light as they embark on their technical career. To the icons among us, I honor your service to country, your discipline and commitment to this field, and your endurance throughout the years. Your path towards an inclusive society will serve as an example for others. A reminder to my younger peers, it is more important to develop lasting habits than to memorize facts and figures. It is about learning easily transferable abilities, strategies, and mental habits, as well as a thorough understanding of subjects. Your engineering education has adequately prepared you for the future, regardless of where your journey leads you. Believe in yourself. It will be your prime motivation. Albert Einstein, the father of modern physics and Nobel Prize winner, once said that education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. Our community over the years has selflessly gone the distance to transfer knowledge to the future leaders of tomorrow. and has educated many up-and-coming critical thinkers far beyond the lessons learned in a classroom. In conversations, the voyage charted for us is not one we have taken lightly. Our enlightenment has the capacity and capability to bridge societal pain points and make our society a better place for all. Our vision to propel sustainable socio-economic and environmental transformation in the most professional manner is praiseworthy. Our ability to impart our knowledge and impact rooms filled with human resource agents, marketing executives, presidents, and CEOs is admirable. All things considered, this fraternity, this engineering fraternity, has the potential to exist beyond the notion of just being technical advisors, but being a catalyst to drive mankind to greater frontiers. Ladies and gentlemen, I began my address by sharing that our journey to excellence begins with one single step. Though we have endured the most and indeed reaped from our toil, I am sure I speak for everyone when I say the journey is not yet complete. As I leave your presence today, but hopefully not your thoughts, I encourage you to consider that though you have reached an important juncture in your journey, let it only be a stepping stone for you to reach even greater heights. Heights that will not only be an inspiration to yourself, but for others. I thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lord Lewis, for delivering our feature address. The title of Fellow is bestowed upon those who have, apart from attaining the age of 45, distinguished themselves in engineering, including having peer-reviewed publications and have been given public recognition. They must also have given service to APETT through executive council, divisions, committees, or otherwise, and must have also served the wider community through activities that improve society. This year, APETT recognizes and awards 21 individuals with the title of Fellow. Everett Holder, Imran Hussain, Jason Gordon, Jeffrey Smith, David Blake, Carl Haynes, Maurice Messiah, Michael Merritt, Paul Taylor, Rashid Ali Muhammad, Vince Ramlochan, Alvin Daniel, David Boyce, Anna Sadiq, Anthony Chady, Clarence Mitchell, Karen Burgess, Martin Ford, Franklin Daharu, Sean Tate. We congratulate and appreciate all the engineers who, through their own amazing and important work, are now Fellows of the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago. The music is soca, the instrument, the steel pan. Here to perform, Samantha Elliott. And now, the pinnacle of this year's ceremony, the APETT Career of Excellence in Engineering Award. This award is conferred to members, senior members or fellows of APETT who have been members for at least 10 continuous years and have served as an engineer for at least 30 years. They would have also provided service to APETT for the advancement of the association's objectives and have had a distinguished career in engineering, which has involved going beyond the basic requirements of the job, working on complex or unusual projects, innovation, the development of engineering solutions to complex situations, broad and in-depth application of engineering, technical leadership, or other related project, or successful entrepreneurial endeavors in engineering, among other criteria. Their work must have had a positive impact on society and the environment, which has impacted and improved the quality of life of persons, and they must have engaged in meaningful community or social improvement activities. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the APETT Career of Excellence in Engineering Award.
When I graduated from A-levels, I had a range of subjects that could allow me to get into many different fields. But what inspired me to become an engineer is the hands-on nature of the engineering profession. It's not like other professions where you are dealing with only concepts. In engineering, we start with a concept, but we end up with something tangible. And that is what attracted me to engineering. I didn't really face any challenges in becoming an engineer. The training was offered right here at UB St. Augustine. I had the grades to get me in, so there wasn't a question of whether I would get in or not. But in terms of my overall career, the biggest challenge I faced is having completed my bachelor's degree and having worked for a year as a civil engineer, because my bachelor's is in civil engineering, deciding on what specialty I should do for my master's degree. Many senior engineers encouraged me to get into, and I guess the term I want to use is hard engineering, designing and building bridges, roads, that sort of thing, water supply projects. I had an interest in environmental engineering, which was a very new field at the time. And I guess being hardened, I did not take the advice of the senior engineers who said to me that environmental engineering is a fad and it's going to disappear. And therefore I chose to go into environmental engineering, and almost 40 years later, I am still in environmental engineering. I think one of the highlights of my career is last year, myself and 3 co-authors published a book entitled Environmental Impact Assessment for Practitioners in the OECS countries. That book summarizes lessons learned and experience over the entirety of my career. And I can therefore say that I am the person who wrote the book on environmental impact assessment in the OECS, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Environmental engineering is now a well-established field in Trinidad and in the West Indies. You cannot start any new project in Trinidad without getting a certificate of environmental clearance, and that is basically environmental engineering. I see this continuing to be an important field, I see it continuing to make sure that the projects that are approved and implemented take into consideration not just effects on the environment, but effects on people, because people are part of the environment. So I see this field going from strength to strength. Several young people have come to me to talk about going into engineering. And there's something I say to all of them. Do you like mathematics? Because if you don't like mathematics, engineering is not the field for you. We do so much maths to practice engineering that if you don't like maths, find something else to do. When you're choosing a field, talk to as many people as you can who are in the field. And the other thing I would add to that, as you get into the field, having chosen the field, having got your degree and got your first job and so on, most people, most engineers find themselves in a situation with an older, more established engineer willing to mentor them. Take that mentoring very, very seriously. Take mentoring from people who are already in the field and who could move you along. And if you'll allow me to call two names in my own career, one is Dr. Lenny Saith, who was Managing Director of Trinidad, which is where I had my first job. Looking back, it is clear to me now that Dr. Saith took a personal interest in how my career developed and gave me opportunities to build that career. The second person I want to mention is an American. His name is Bill Waters, and he worked with us, or I should say I worked with him on the design of the Arena Dam and Reservoir. He was one of the most effective teachers in the engineering profession that I have ever seen. And again, he took a personal interest in all the young engineers who were assigned to him, making sure that when we finished working with him, we were far better engineers than we were at the start. But I have found the practice of environmental engineering to be very, very intellectually stimulating.
I joined UWI in 2001 and as a senior lecturer in the discipline of industrial engineering. I became a professor in 2003 and tenure in 2004. So what inspired me to be an engineer after I received my education, undergrad, postgrad, I like to offer solutions and bring the practical side to the solution using the engineer mindset. That is why I like to be an engineer. My discipline is industrial engineering. Industrial engineering also a special discipline, unlike others like mechanical, civil, electrical. Industrial engineering, I would say that is a good match of engineering and management and business. We emphasize on people, emphasize on how we can optimize the system that help organization to perform much better, more efficiency, and to the needs of the customer. My major challenge, just like other engineers, time. We always fighting with time. Time's always need to balance the time is very difficult. I may consider as an engineering educator because I spend most of my career time in academia. I teach. Teaching at the universities, not only teaching, there are so many other things else. It's very also time challenging. Okay, to get a right balance between my career and my personal life is another one. My highlight, of course, as one of the recipients to receive the Career Excellence Award granted by the APETT, our professional body. That I think is the one highlight. Another thing, because I involved in research and publications and involved in a lot of professional bodies' work, so I received many kinds of recognitions. Like in 2008, I received the Vice Chancellor Award in research and teaching. In 2012, I received the Best Researcher Award from the Faculty of Engineering. And just more recently, I received the APETT Career Excellence Award, as well as one national award I just received in September, is the Hummingbird Award from the government of TNT. I think the world is changing, okay? We need to keep on the change. The future of engineering, we need to more engage in the society development, the economic development, diversification. I think that's the direction for engineering. For those who study in engineering and for those who are already practicing engineering in TNT, that's the area. For our young engineers, don't fear about failure. We try to learn from whatever, okay, because this is a learning process. There are no so-called a secure equation or formula ensure you will succeed and can success. Failure is common, but we will use our knowledge and make sure your design, your delivery or design meet all those requirements and minimize the failure. But even though we fail, doesn't matter. We work for it and fight for it. And one thing I would like to share, this is come from what I received the Career Excellence Award as well as the Hummingbird Award. I would like to share with you a quotation. Don't work for recognition, but do work worthy of recognition. That's very important. Earn a recognition for hard work and smart work. This is all our engineers need to do. If you ask me who are my mentor, maybe start from 2001 when I joined UE, that will be, at that time, Professor Kerman Sankat is the dean. He hired me from abroad, from Hong Kong. Most likely, he was my mentor at that time I joined UE. Professor Sankat at that time is the dean and later on become the principal of the St. Augustine. So if you ask me who are the mentor, right now I will say that my mentor is my wife and my son. They did well and have a lot of things I learned from them.
Where I grew up, the doctors and lawyers were the people looked up to. And I was saying to myself, what is it that people look up to, these people for? Lawyers are thieves, and doctors, okay, if a sick person doesn't get better, doctor says, well, I did my best. Whereas engineer, if a project fails for an engineer, he's buried with it. And on top of that, my father worked for East African Railways. He was an electrical technician, and all around me, in the outskirts of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, where we lived, where people who worked with East African Railways, and they were all technicians of various sorts. So engineering was all around me. On top of it, where we were staying, as I say, in the jungle outside of Dar es Salaam, was the airport for Tanzania. So I used to see all Dakota planes, DC-3s come in and go out, and I used to wonder. So first I was going to become an aeronautical engineer. And the US government gave me a scholarship. At the same time, Tanzanian government gave me a scholarship to do civil engineering. In the confusion, civil engineering won out and aeronautical engineering lost. Ex-British colonies were getting independence. And I was in Africa, where everybody knows about the history of Africa. Whether there was a patent direct apartheid as in South Africa, or hidden apartheid as it was in East Africa where I was. Can you believe on railway stations we used to have 3 toilets? One marked European, another marked Asian, another marked African. 3 toilets. Okay? I mean, so isn't that apartheid? So, and in Dar es Salaam we used to have 3 areas we used to live in. One for Europeans, one for Africans, one for Asians. And I obviously couldn't put up with it. But for me to make up what to do in Africa, once Africa got independence, and I had to put up with it. But in the meantime, I went to England before I could make up my mind what to do my master's at Imperial College in London. And the Jamaican government was advertising for engineers to come and work in Jamaica. And I applied for it. And lo and behold, I was interviewed by 3 elegant African gentlemen from Jamaica, and I was surprised. I said, yes, West Indies have come far away from Kenya. And I was very impressed with the 3 gentlemen, Ted Ogilvy, Dougie Wint, and A.B. Smith. And they offered me the job. I was only 26 years old. So in terms of Trinidad, as I say, the major projects, the 2 that I handled, which were very challenging, was the financial complex on St. Vincent Street, the government campus plaza, Atto Bolden Maniram Jones Stadium, the problems of Brian Lara Stadium, Chancery Lane complex, which is now the teaching hospital of San Fernando Teaching Hospital down in Chancery Lane. And now for the last 5 years, I'm doing the Toko Port, which was very challenging, Maruga Fisheries Port, and Tobago Marina. So I have been involved in most of the major projects in Trinidad. In Jamaica, I was involved in Kingston Transshipment Port. In St. Lucia, Sandals, St. Lucia, and government office buildings in St. Lucia, in St. Kitts, Port Zante. So yes, it's been good 50 years, very challenging, yes. Since I've come here in 1978, as I say, most of the time it's been rolling in money. And government never had enough resources to handle major projects. So they started forming institutions, statutory bodies or whatever. But the structure of who is inside those bodies and how projects are handled require a lot of experience, require a lot of know-how. But that wasn't there. When I was in my final year in university, there was a professor called Vasudevan. He says, Arun, academically you are very good. You'll come first class honors. And I did. But when you leave the university, you know nothing. And you must know that you know nothing. You must go and find out the answers to the things that you don't know. Don't assume anything. Just because you go with a degree, that doesn't mean you are an engineer now. You have to learn and keep on learning. And that is what I have done. I keep on learning all the time. I have books all over, 2,000 books in this which are non-engineering, and about 1,000 which are engineering. I still order books. Every month, my Amazon bill is about a couple of $1,000. But I never stop learning. And this is a challenge. You have to learn engineering by watching, observing, reading, asking questions and studying it and learning all the time, never be satisfied. If you push a button on a computer prints out answer. You will learn nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the APETT Awards and Honors Ceremony. And we want to thank all of our suppliers, partners, speakers, our distinguished guests, awardees, and of course, we want to thank you all for joining us. I'm Wendell Constantine, and on behalf of the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago, this has been the Awards and Honors Ceremony. See you next time.